Hello everyone, my name is Kyle Cherek and I am the host of a television show called Wisconsin Foodie, but today I'm here for the Vollrath Chef Series at Madison College. And I'm here with Mary Kastman, who is an alum from 2012, and we're going to talk about one, her path, two, her experience as a female chef, and three, why she came back to Wisconsin, because that will be probably the first question you'll have to answer for the rest of your career, correct?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Before we get into any of that, tell me, how old are you, Mary?
I am 34 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think off camera you said 35. Are you revising it down?
I'm revising it down because my husband just turned 35 yesterday, so we confuse our ages sometimes, but yes, I'm going to do a solid 34 for sure.
Yeah. So why culinary school? And why Madison College?
So I actually went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I got a degree in English literature, and was planning on going to grad school and doing that whole path. But
me too. This is my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was working a job at the University Club on campus, doing the front of the house management, bookkeeping. And when I graduated from the university, I just continued to do that job, but I was more excited about what was going on in the back of the house. So, I would come in early and try to learn how to use a knife, for example, or try to do some basic prep tasks. And I could really tell that that was something that I was starting to become really passionate about and wanting to learn more about.
Yeah.
And with having the farmers market in Madison on Saturdays, that just became a huge thing for me of continuing that education, going to the market, finding things, trying new recipes, and then thinking about the whole process of applying to grad school and, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to publish and work in academia? No, I really want to learn how to cook. So that's when I decided Madison College.
Your story is the one of the trifecta of the three stories of how people get into culinary. It's either I was born in a cooking family, or I always wanted to be a chef from the day that I was, 2 years old and someone gave me a paring knife, or I was on this different path and then as soon as I got exposed to a kitchen, the secret sauce, whatever you want to call it,
right?
and you got the bug and you never want to get rid of the bug.
No, sometimes you want to for just a second, but you can't.
Right. Yeah. So why did you choose Madison College and talk about talk about the experience, the equipment, the staff, the people, the parking?
Yeah, right. I chose Madison College because I had a family member who had gone through the program who was, very successful in Madison, getting jobs and working as a chef and a cook. So I just basically followed his lead and checked it out, applied, and I really didn't want to amass such a large amount of debt by going to like a Le Cordon Bleu or the CIA.
Yeah, there's an intense value here.
Absolutely. So that was really my motivation, is I want a good education that I can get in a 2-year program that's here in Madison, and I don't have to pay student loans for the rest of my life, basically. Yeah. So that was my inspiration to come here, and it was such a great experience. Obviously, we did not have this beautiful refurbished kitchen when I was here, but we had a lot of Vollrath products, a lot of the small wares, just a lot of resources to have large class format, but with a lot of individual attention. John and Paul are like the greatest instructors on the planet. You couldn't ask for two better people to lead this program. So that was my journey here. And I spent some time on the ACF team, which is the competition team here. And that was a really great way to sort of enhance the education that I got. It's just like extra, time with the instructors and the teaching assistants. And so it really helped me build this foundation of like technical skill and got me ready to be in the workforce, not to be a chef when I graduated, because I always tell the story about our day on orientation. John and Paul would say, you are coming here and you are going to graduate and be a line cook. You are not going to be a chef. Because that takes time and development, and we're going to give you all of the skills that you need to go and get a job and be successful so that you can start climbing that ladder.
Well, and chef is a different level. It means chief, it means leader.
Right.
And not everyone is cut out for that.
Right.
But when I toured the school in the days that you were talking about, I was even then impressed by the top flight quality of materials, the
Yes.
stuff. I mean, yes, this is post-remodel and it's wonderful, but even then, I've been to a bunch of culinary schools. I'm
Right.
maybe a little overexposed. I was blown away with what students got to handle and
Right.
work with, because these were real world products. These weren't the kind of, Fisher Price version, right? And then
Right.
you go out in the real world.
Well, and then everybody has access to their own set of things. So like, when you're doing an exam and you need like a braising pan, you get your own for the day, and you get, to
Yeah.
have control and really be able to execute things that you want to. You get to use induction burners and learn why they're important, and especially like maybe in pastry cooking particularly. Like we use them on the ACF team all the time. So it was a really great exposure and really great resources here.
What were some of those things that were your, if I could just have this in my back pocket products?
Oh my goodness, I would love an induction burner for sure. We use them a lot at work, but I don't have one at home. So, but that's something that definitely comes in handy, particularly when you're doing a special event or something like that, and you can't have an open flame. And I can't tell how many times we've been to events and taken things and not had an induction burner. Past jobs that I've had, and then like, okay, so what are we going to do?
The control is amazing.
Yeah, control is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one I can think of for sure.
Vollrath makes a beautiful one. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, we used it at demos, and the one that sticks out in my mind was the 100,000 crepes that we made, a Julia Child recipe.
Oh
where
my.
we're layering them up into basically what looks like a cake, right?
Right,
With sort of
yeah.
like almost like a vegetable gravy in between. And the control that we had with that induction burner on a summer day when the wind is blowing and people, and timing is everything or you lose the audience.
Right.
And it's like just the trust that I had in my spine and my core. Nothing was going to, we were not going to be in the weeds here.
Yeah.
Like a Harley may drive by and everyone turns and looks at that, but this was going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Especially too if you don't have access to necessarily the ventilation in some places that you need to, it also is a huge thing as well.
So talk about your path as a female chef, which is different now in 2019 than a female chef in, say, 1969
Correct.
or 2009.
Yeah. So I was always kind of brought up in the, if you put your head down and you work hard, like you don't need to necessarily worry about the fact that you're a woman in a male-dominated industry. And so I sort of had that mentality going into my career to begin with, but I stumbled upon this amazing group of female chefs in Boston. Anna Sortun, Cassie Puma of restaurants Oleana and Sarma. They ran their businesses with such, such heart, but like just so professionally and wonderfully. And I had never experienced like an all-female kitchen from executive chef, down all the way to, to line cook. And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. It was a different kind of experience because I think the challenge is very different when you work in an all-female kitchen because there isn't the same worry of competition or like even maybe some of the not so great stuff that goes on in mixed kitchens, like sexual harassment and all those things that definitely need to be addressed in our industry for sure, especially in light of the Me Too movement and everything like that. But so I was able to really learn so much.
Show up, do your job, and learn.
Exactly. Show up, do your job, learn, but also challenge one another. Push each other. Well, how can we make this better? How can we do this? And it was really just being able to flex, get that energy. And
explain to me the difference, because it was really intriguing to me, the difference in competition. So when you have both sexes operating in a kitchen, there should be healthy competition.
Yes.
But that shouldn't be absent when it's just one sex, whether it's male or whether it's female. And you said you were pushing each other, but talk to me about those nuances.
I think they are definitely very difficult to break down, I think, but I think that we could hold each other accountable a little bit more. And because we've had a similar experience of working in this industry, probably in a male-dominated field, where we don't often get the chance to have our voices heard. So getting to start that conversation and to keep that conversation going is something that I hope that I can implement in my kitchens, with both men and women, for sure, because, I think balanced kitchens are also great. All female kitchens are great, but balanced kitchens are great too. So being able to have those conversations and have those ideas flowing and push each other in a way where we are progressing, and changing what kitchens look like, so that they're not all the same. There's many different colors or different sexes. We're changing it up,
Well, and Boston's got a great Gaia energy history with Barbara Lynch
Absolutely.
and her empire,
Yes.
but just what the force she's been nationally in food trends and restaurants, but then for Boston.
Yeah,
and she was
absolutely.
there before all the ladies that you just mentioned.
Oh yes.
Yeah, breaking
She's
waves.
Fierce.
Yeah.
Fierce.
Yeah. Cool. What difference do you think that experience made in who you are now? As an exec chef at a terrific restaurant in the state, one that was semi-finaled for the James Beards 2 years ago, and you're taking over the helm at the Driftless Cafe.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Right.
But what did that specific experience in Boston?
I think it just taught me how to find my voice and to speak it. To not just put my head down and do my job, but to be like, hey, I actually have something to say. I've had this experience with this cuisine that I absolutely have fallen in love with, and I want to do that here with this amazing product that we have in our state and the farmers and their amazing product that they produce for us. And I want to tell my story because I don't think a lot of female chefs get a chance to do that. And I think that we miss out on a lot of food because of that, a lot of great food.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that we just kind of start taking over. Making it happen.
Yeah. Re-owning it.
Yeah. So just finding that voice, having the environment to come up in an environment that was supportive enough for me to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you where you thought you'd be, or are you further than when you started here at Madison College? Second to last question.
I think I'm definitely further. I mean, life's taken me some pretty crazy places. I'm also a mother to an 18-month-old little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So, when we moved back to Wisconsin in August, I was going to take a little bit of a break and sort of figure out what my next step was.
But you became an exec chef instead. How's that going?
Yeah, right. But I realized that this is exactly why I came here, was to do this, was to figure out how can I do this food in this place, and tell my story.
Yeah.
And, it just kind of clicked. Life is crazy.
So 3 women from the past, if you could spend a week with them
Oh my gosh.
shadowing, one would be Mame Brasserie, who's the grandmother of Nouvelle Cuisine, Julia Child, or Clementine Paddleford. Who would you spend a week with?
Oh, I'd have to go with Julia Child, for
Yeah?
sure.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly my choice is different. Why?
Oh, I just love the legend that she is.
Is it because you would come up to her hips basically too?
Probably.
So there's sort of
there's that for
right,
sure.
mother-child kind of thing.
I think also being in Boston, there's such a huge connection to her there, and I've seen her handprints in front of Saviner's grocery store, and I've been to her house, so it's just, there's definitely that connection there. But I mean, she's just, again, she's a titan, and I would just love to spend a week with her. That would be amazing. And
Cool.
I'd love to meet Paul too. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, right. And then
There's
Paul.
the other side of that coin.
just don't let him ash on your knees. Apparently
Right.
he's sort of famous for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you're in the kitchen. No, you're parachuted down onto a desert island where you have to make a dinner for dignitaries through history.
Oh my.
What kitchen things do you want to have absolutely in your kit?
Well, in addition to a knife, which is an obvious answer to that question, you are going to need probably some induction burners for sure to get that food cooking. I use a blender a lot in my cuisine. I use a lot of food processing equipment as well, because I'm making hummus till the cows come home, basically.
And you're in Wisconsin, so that's pretty late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cows.
Spoons. Oh God, I love spoons. I have a thing for spoons. Plating spoons, mixing bowls too. Love different
You and
sizes
Gavin
of
Kaysen, he loves them so much he named one of his restaurants after spoons.
Oh wow, yeah. So spoons and small, different sizes of small bowls for sure as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Now at the level that you're at, exec chef, you have to be both aware of trends and ready to not listen to them at any time, right?
Right.
Yeah, but so how do you keep your ear to the ground with that?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I do is that October New York Times cookbook list. When that comes out, that's where I spend most of our money, and my husband, yells at me because he's like, "Oh no, it's cookbook season again!" So that's a huge part of it for me. I try not to go too much on Eater or those websites because I think you can just get very consumed by all of that.
There's a lot of dross out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I try to stay off the internet as much as possible in that sense. So it's really just kind of the cookbooks. I'll occasionally do Food and Wine magazine, stuff like that. But yeah.
Who do you read for in cookbooks for like recreation and inspiration? And like I read Nigel Slater just because I love reading Nigel Slater, but I've never made a single recipe.
Yeah.
You know what I
right?
mean? Yeah. And then I find Ottolenghi, not Ottolenghi, but
Ottolenghi.
Ottolenghi, thank
Yeah.
you. Like great to look at, but sort of not. They never turn out the way they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hard question because I have a lot of cookbooks, but I would say one of my recent favorites, Ruth Reichel did a cookbook after she retired from Gourmet, and so then she started this whole Twitter thing where she kind of did a tweet for every recipe she was sort of making and wrote up, and so that was one of my most recent favorites. So definitely Ruth Reichel. I'm a huge fan of Greg and Lucy Malouf. They're Middle Eastern chefs, and they have a whole series. They go Turkey, they've been to Syria, they've done Persia. So that's kind of I try to diversify my cookbook reading. A lot of it tends to go towards Middle Eastern cooking, just because that's what I love and am passionate about. But Ed Lee, his cookbooks are wonderful. Just whatever I could get my hands on, mostly.
Cool. What were some of your challenges, your roadblocks when you were training here?
I think the hardest thing for me was I was working full time at the same time I was going through the program, which I think is a lot of people, everybody's story.
Yeah.
And I had my first experience of opening a restaurant while I was going to school here. So yeah, that was finding the balance for sure.
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 But and edifying, like baptism by fire, kind of too,
absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Absolutely, because then you really know that, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah.
So and finding, just generally something I think all chefs struggle with is finding that balance. When do you turn it off for a minute and get some distance and space so that you can cultivate that inspiration and find it and execute it. So still working on that for sure. But yeah. So that's what I would tell any young cook starting out is try to find that early on if you can.
Right.
For sure.
So what do you cook at home? And what do you cook with at home?
We make a lot of roast chickens in my house because it's one of my favorite things to make.
So
it's
do
easy.
we.
Yeah.
Cast iron veggies.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Butter, salt, garlic, and heat. Yeah.
Exactly. Pretty much.
Yeah.
We do some grilling when we can. I really like to grill vegetables. Grilled broccoli, grilled cabbage, that sort of stuff. My husband sometimes makes dinner on the nights where I'm completely dead tired, and usually my off days, and so that's why we have that great non-stick pan that he can just throw whatever in, and it usually ends up being fine. But yeah, pretty classic roast chicken, and we'll get fancy sometimes, tacos, with everything.
On Tuesdays or any
Taco Tuesdays,
okay,
yeah, for sure.
Sure, yeah. If you have kids, it's an institution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This has been delightful. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Good.